This is the crafts that I've made over the span of time as the past two videos. I made beaded pillows for all of my friends for Christmas and for my parents. Some of those videos you will have to go to my TikTok account to see because they have copyright music over them, but the ones that don't I put up here. I also, over the break, redecorated my trash can because before I had some pictures that I'd used an internet game thing to make, but I repainted it as sort of an abstract underwater scene, and I'm really happy with how it came out. It's been functioning just fine. It's not like anyone sees it, but it was more just for my own personal gratification. Currently I'm using iMovie to edit these things because I'm just sticking clips together, but someone, if you can, could you help me figure out how to deal with the copyrighted music, because I'd love to put some of the other videos from my TikTok up here, but for now this is the content that I've got for you guys. Welcome to the first of my beading projects. First we're going to look at materials. We've got some fabric, some green beads, not all of those are pictured here. I also used green thread, not pictured here because I used both of them up, and you're going to need a really tiny needle for those beads. And then here we have some progress photos. This was for my friend Cactus, and so I made a cactus and I think it turned out pretty cute. Here's another beading project. The materials I used were some fabric. I used chalk to mark because a marker wouldn't show up, my embroidery hoop, and some black beads along with colored beads that aren't pictured because I used them up, and my really tiny needle for beading. This pillow was inspired by those bead lizards that you used to see from one era that I wasn't born in. They didn't turn out as well as I would like. They kind of look like colorful mice, but my friend Raven that I gave this pillow to really liked them, and I also added a raven because his name is Raven, and the raven came out really nice. So this was my Christmas present to my boyfriend, whose name is King. I used fabric, we have orange beads, and then I used red and orange thread, and of course the tiny beading needle, and we used the embroidery hoop as always, and because the fabric was black, I used chalk to mark it instead of markers. Now, a crown obviously had to be the art of choice because his name is King, and I was a little worried I was going to run out of beads before I finished the project, but it actually turned out pretty good. It was okay in the end, and he really liked it, and so I am satisfied. So for this project we used some blue striped fabric, my embroidery hoop as always, a marker because the fabric wasn't black, some black beads because of the design I'm going to do being mostly black, and of course thread and my tiny needle. I also have some ribbon, the silver ribbon that wasn't pictured because I used it all in this project. As you can tell, this is a bat, and it's for my very gothic friend Cynthia. It's really cute, and Cynthia really liked it, and so I'm really happy with how it turned out, and there's its friend. The fabric that I used for this project was a nice blue paisley, and it mimicked the shape that I wanted to do, which is sort of a raindrop, teardrop shape, a marker for marking my shape, and an embroidery hoop, of course. I used some blue beads. Not all of them are pictured here because I used a lot of them up on this project or other projects also. And of course my thread and my tiny needle for beading. So this was for my friend Aqua, and so a water drop basically is like their name, and I tried to write down how long it took me. That first picture was from 1 hour and 30 minutes, and this was from 2 hours and 30 minutes, and then of course putting it together into a pillow. So today I decided to start recustomizing my trash can. It used to have these pictures that I'd made online on some app thing taped onto it for several years, but I took them off and I washed it because it was gross looking on the outside. And then I got out my Craft Smart white paint acrylic, and then I started to paint it, and the first coat of the white paint, because it's like a base coat, came out pretty streaky looking, and I wasn't the most happy with that, so I did a second coat of white paint, and that one was a little bit better. I did end up getting a little bit of paint on my hands. So this is just a base coat, so stay tuned to see the colors that I start to put on it. For colors, I used a combination of Crafter's Edition acrylic paint in navy blue, Americana acrylic paint in Hauser medium green, and then a lavender color that I have no recollection of what it was, and I'm going to add more stuff, but here's what it looks like now. I think it looks really cool. It's giving me undersea vibes, and it's really abstract, and I really like how it's come out so far. So this is the final rendition of my newly decorated trash can. I really like the way it turned out. It gives a kind of abstract undersea vibe. Since the last time you saw it, I did a quick coat of just some spray on glitter, and then I did 2 coats of a clear top coat on it to hopefully keep that sealed in there. I didn't do any of those things on the bottom, but I did leave a little bit of gold on the bottom. The paint did chip off in some places, but that was before I put the clear coat on, so I'm hoping that this will last for a while, and now that this is a trash can I can actually use, I'm going to be using it as my trash can, which is good because the one I currently have in my room is much smaller than this, and that's not big enough for what I need. So I'm really happy with how this turned out, and it's very cool looking, and I really like it, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching the process of me making it.